Welcome back to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, founder and CEO of Academia IDU, and today I'm doing something a little different. I've got a fascinating work of poetry to share with you. We're going to take a deep dive into random rhythms, a huge collection, like 270 poems by Kali Kaivalya, which is the pen name for Suresh Soni. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, let me remind you, as always, I'm here to neutrally present this work, not to endorse it. I really want you to reflect, maybe spark some new thoughts or perspectives, but I'm not saying this poetry collection is definitive or the way it is, right? Okay, let's go. So what's the big question at the heart of random rhythms? It's actually not just one question, it's more like a cluster of spiritual and existential riddles. The core focus is, how do we, as people, find meaning? How do we make sense of our lives and our place in the universe? What does it look like to transcend daily illusion, tap into inner peace, and connect to something bigger, maybe unity or truth or whatever you want to call it? Kaivalya's poems keep circling these spiritual mysteries. Why does that matter, you might wonder? Well, in a world that's, wow, so noisy and fractured, whether you're thinking about the endless scroll of social media or just, the daily grind, a lot of people, are searching for something deeper. Poetry like this tries to answer those restless questions and maybe offers a little stillness. Let me give you a sense of how Kali Kaivalya approaches these themes. The poems are rooted, deeply in Indian philosophy, especially traditions like Vedanta and Buddhism, but there's something universal in the concerns. Themes of unity or oneness show up everywhere. I have to admit, I kind of zoned out for a minute thinking about what real unity would feel like. Anyway, there's an emphasis on moving past the ego and all that divides people, from nations, religions, social status, layers and layers of difference. It's all about that single human family. Some poems are passionate pleas for peace. You'll find titles like A Call for Global Peace and The World Seeks Peace, Not Wars. Pretty direct, right? There's compassion, an undercurrent of hope, but also a real sorrow about war, environmental messes, social suffering. Then there's this strong spiritual current, poems that invite you to empty your mind, reflect, meditate, lose yourself, kind of dissolve into the mystery of, the silence beyond all knowing. That's literally a poem title. It's not just emptiness for the sake of it, but emptiness as a gateway to something fuller or freer. How does that land for, say, someone picking up this book with no big background in Indian philosophy? Well, the style makes a difference. Kaivalya's language is minimalist. Simple words, a lot about rivers, silence, light, the flow of nature, breath. Poems are short, often 4 lines arranged in these metered, song-like stanzas, sort of mantra-like, almost meditative. It's approachable, but if you read straight through 270 poems, it can start to feel repetitive or even, honestly, overwhelming. Some people might find comfort in the rhythm, others might wish for a bit more variety, but there's intentionality in that repetition. It's a poetic technique, a way to reinforce meditative practice, return to big ideas from new angles, and I guess nudge readers into reflection. I want to briefly highlight a few standout pieces. The dying echo of verse is like a lament for the lost role of poetry in society. It's nostalgic and sounds a little like a rallying cry to bring poetry back into collective consciousness. Citizens of Earth reimagines identity, taking you out into space to see humanity from, this distance. Suddenly borders vanish, differences blur, and all you see are humans, together. There's The Grandchildren of Man, which is a tender look at children's innocence and potential. Honestly, who doesn't pause for a second when thinking about the future through the eyes of grandchildren? Okay, quick digression. This style of poetry made me wonder why, as adults, we so rarely write about ourselves as grandchildren. Usually it's all about ancestry in one direction, but what if we thought backwards? Alright, back on track. Kaivalya's core literary techniques, structured forms, minimalist language, elemental imagery, and straight-up spiritual motifs align him with, but also distinguish him from, other poets. The review literature compares him to Tagore, Rumi, even Mary Oliver, Kabir, and others. Unlike Tagore's ornate devotion or Rumi's exuberance, Kaivalya is quieter, more disciplined, more about non-dualistic presence. There's a kind of rhythmic mantra vibe, as if each poem is a spiritual exercise, just a few words repeated, gently nudging you inward. Now, how does all this matter practically for you, the listener? Well, poetry like this can be a tool, maybe a meditative companion, something to dip into during chaotic times, not to find quick answers, but to open up new questions. You might find comfort or a challenge. The content doesn't expect agreement, just reflection. Sometimes you might read a poem and disagree entirely. That's okay. Soni, Kali Kaivalya, invites engagement, not unquestioning acceptance. And, academic research, poetry, any of it, it isn't absolute truth. It's a set of perspectives for you to try on, explore, set aside if they don't resonate, or maybe pick up again later when life shifts. So, in wrapping up, Random Rhythms by Suresh Soni as Kali Kaivalya is a significant, broad, spiritually driven collection that tries to create a contemplative space, an echo chamber of big, timeless questions. If you're looking to slow down, reconnect, or just sample what poetry rooted in philosophical tradition can sound like, this might be worth exploring. And again, I'm just here to report, to share what's out there. These are not recommendations, but opportunities to engage. Thanks so much for listening to In Depth with Academia. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, and maybe try being a little more present. See you.